Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be diving into an intriguing question, really, and that is, could there be a connection between electromagnetic fields and the human body? We've got a really fascinating mix of sources for this one: historical accounts, scientific studies, even whispers of some military experiments.
Wow.
It's all about this idea of electropollution and whether these invisible forces could actually be messing with our health.
Well, it's really quite amazing how the perception of electricity has changed over time.
Yeah.
Back in the 18th century, it was considered like this cutting-edge medical treatment.
Oh, yeah, I was reading about that.
Yeah.
Like how people like Benjamin Franklin
Yes.
and even John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church, were big proponents of like electrotherapy.
Right. Yeah.
They believed it could cure just about anything: headaches, kidney stones, you name it.
Yeah, and they weren't wrong.
Right.
I mean, those early scientists, they really saw electricity as this subtle life force, almost like a vital energy, that could be harnessed for healing.
Okay.
But then as technology advanced and electricity became more associated with like industrial power and machinery,
Right.
that understanding seems to have gotten lost.
It's like we went from thinking about electricity as this like mystical
Yes.
force of nature
Exactly.
to fearing it as this potential source of harm.
Yeah, and with the rise of technologies like electric railways in the late 19th century, we saw this like simultaneous increase in new health problems.
Huh. That's interesting.
It really makes you wonder, like, is there a connection there?
Right.
That we haven't fully explored?
That's a great point. What if our bodies are much more sensitive to electromagnetic fields than we realize?
Yeah.
I mean, our sources for this deep dive
Yeah.
delve into some pretty mind-blowing research on this topic.
Yeah.
For example, Dr. Robert O. Becker, his work
Oh, yeah.
revealed that the myelin sheaths surrounding our nerves,
Right.
they actually act as electrical transmission lines.
Becker's research was really it really challenged the conventional understanding of how our nervous system works.
Wow.
And what's even more fascinating is the crucial role that DC electric currents play in our bodies.
Okay.
We're talking bone growth, healing, pain perception, and potentially even consciousness itself.
Really? That's incredible. So are you saying that these electromagnetic fields could be interfering with these like vital DC currents and impacting our health in ways that we're just beginning to understand?
I mean, it's definitely a possibility that warrants further investigation.
Right.
Our sources suggest that we might be overlooking some crucial links between our increasingly electrified world and our well-being.
One of the things I was reading about was this concept of electropollution.
Yeah.
Basically the idea that these man-made electromagnetic fields could be disrupting this like delicate electrical balance in our bodies.
Right. It's like we're swimming in a sea of invisible frequencies all the time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it's not just about the intensity of these fields, but also the specific frequencies that are involved. Think of it like tuning into different radio stations.
Yeah.
Each frequency carries a different signal.
Right.
And our bodies might be picking up on those signals in ways that we don't yet fully comprehend.
So are you saying that different frequencies might have different effects on our bodies?
Exactly.
Like some could be beneficial, while others could be harmful.
That's right.
Okay, and there was some interesting research I was reading,
Yeah.
particularly from like Cold War era studies on the effects of microwaves
Oh, yeah. Fascinating stuff.
on human health.
Yes.
Some of those studies suggest a potential link between microwave exposure and the development of diabetes.
It's pretty unsettling.
It is, yeah.
Especially considering how ubiquitous microwaves are these days.
Right, exactly.
I mean, they're everywhere.
Yeah, and we were talking about bees earlier.
Yeah.
And there was this, I guess it's a mysterious ailment that decimated bee populations, known as the Isle of Wight disease.
Yeah.
And it was eventually linked to radio waves.
It's a stark reminder that even seemingly harmless technologies can have these unintended consequences
Yikes.
on living organisms.
Yeah.
If radio waves can disrupt the delicate balance of electromagnetic fields in bees,
Yeah.
what could they be doing to us?
It's definitely a sobering thought.
It is.
And it makes you wonder about the long-term effects of all this exposure.
Absolutely. I mean, we're essentially conducting a massive global experiment
Right.
with, unknown consequences.
And some researchers believe that we might be overlooking some very real risks to our health.
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern.
Okay, now our sources also touch on this fascinating topic
Okay.
of how our minds might be able to influence electromagnetic fields.
Interesting.
For instance, Dr. Hal Puthoff's research on remote viewing.
Right.
This is the ability to perceive things remotely with your mind.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
It is. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
I know.
But our sources also point to some intriguing experiments.
Okay.
With random event generators.
Yes.
Or RGs. That seem to suggest that human intention can actually influence probabilistic systems.
Yeah, those RG experiments really raise some profound questions about the nature of reality.
Wow.
And the interconnectedness between mind and matter.
It's like, are we more powerful than we realize?
It's possible.
And speaking of interconnectedness, one of our sources introduces this concept of the field.
Okay.
It's like universal energy field that connects everything.
Interesting.
Potentially explaining phenomena like remote viewing and distant healing.
That the field concept is really thought-provoking. It suggests that we're all interconnected at this fundamental level.
Okay.
Embedded within this web of energy that we can potentially influence with our thoughts and intentions.
So instead of being these isolated individuals, we're all part of this vast interconnected web.
Right.
And maybe our minds play a more significant role in shaping that web than we realize.
Yeah, it's a fascinating possibility. And if our minds can influence electromagnetic fields, and electromagnetic fields can influence our bodies.
Right.
You know, what are the implications for our health, our technology, even our understanding of reality itself?
Those are some big questions. And I'm really eager to explore them further. What else do our sources have in store for us on this deep dive into the world of electromagnetic fields?
You know what's fascinating about this idea of the field? It really challenges our perception of the body as this self-contained entity.
Right.
If we're all immersed in this interconnected field of energy, perhaps we're more like walking antennas, constantly interacting with our surroundings in ways we don't even fully comprehend.
So it's not just about the electromagnetic fields that we're exposed to from technology, but also about the subtle energies that we're constantly exchanging with each other and the environment.
Exactly. And if, as those RE experiments suggest, human intention can influence these fields, it opens up some intriguing possibilities for healing and well-being.
Interesting.
One of our sources actually touches upon the work of Dr. Margaret Patterson, a surgeon who used auricular acupuncture, acupuncture on the ear, to help drug addicts cope with withdrawal symptoms.
It's amazing to think that something as simple as needles placed in specific points on the ear could have such a profound effect.
It really highlights the potential of energy medicine to address some really challenging health problems. And it ties back to this idea that our bodies are these complex electrical systems that can be influenced by subtle energies.
Our sources also delve into some of the potential risks associated with manipulating these electrical systems.
All right, because we have to remember that this is powerful stuff. For example, Dr. Becker's research showed that DC currents could actually stimulate the growth of cancer cells in a lab setting.
Oh, wow.
So his work raises some important ethical questions about the use of electrotherapy, especially when we don't fully understand the potential long-term effects.
It's a reminder that electricity can be both a powerful healing force and a potential source of harm.
Absolutely. It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, you got to proceed with caution.
We do.
And a deep respect for the complexity of these systems.
Right, and it's not just about the electricity that we generate through technology. You know, our sources emphasize the importance of the Earth's natural electromagnetic field, which is constantly changing due to factors like solar flares and the Earth's rotation.
I remember reading about a study that found a link between magnetic storms, which cause fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field, and increased admissions to mental hospitals.
Yeah, it's a fascinating connection. That suggests our mental and emotional states might be more sensitive to these natural rhythms than we realize.
It's like we think of ourselves as separate from nature, but we're deeply embedded within these systems.
That's right. We're not just biological beings. We're also electromagnetic beings, constantly interacting with the Earth's energy field.
So if natural fluctuations in this field can impact our mental and emotional well-being, what about the artificial electromagnetic fields that we're constantly exposed to from our technology?
Well, our sources point to some pretty alarming research on the effects of microwaves.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly from studies that were conducted during the Cold War.
Those Cold War studies are fascinating, if a little unsettling.
They are.
They reveal that chronic exposure to low levels of microwave radiation could lead to all sorts of health issues,
Right.
including exhaustion of the stress response system and an increased risk of cancer.
And it's not just microwaves.
Look.
Studies have also linked exposure to 60 hertz fields, from power lines to brain tumors and other types of cancer.
It's like we're living in this giant electrosmog,
Yeah, pretty much.
and we're only just beginning to understand the potential consequences.
And what's even more concerning
Yeah.
is that the levels of electromagnetic pollution are steadily increasing
Right.
as our technology advances.
Right, all the cell phones, Wi-Fi routers, and wireless devices.
Exactly. We're bathed in these fields practically 24/7.
It's like we said earlier, it's a global experiment
It is.
with unknown consequences.
And we may be overlooking some very real risks.
Yeah, one of our sources explores the world of nuclear magnetic resonance imaging.
MRI.
Yeah, MRI.
Yeah.
It's a medical technology that uses strong magnetic fields to create images of the inside of the body.
What's intriguing about MRI is that it works by manipulating the resonant frequencies of atoms within the body.
So if we can use specific frequencies to create images of the inside of the body, could we also use specific frequencies to target and influence particular biological processes?
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the potential for both healing and harm.
It's both exciting and a little scary.
It is, and as we delve deeper into this realm of electromagnetic fields and their effects,
Yeah.
it's crucial to approach it with both curiosity and caution.
Okay.
Our sources emphasize the importance of considering the long-term effects of exposure to these fields.
It's not just about immediate symptoms,
Right.
but about the potential for cumulative damage over time.
Exactly. It's a bit like the story of the boiling frog. If the temperature rises gradually,
Right.
the frog might not realize it's in danger until it's too late.
So we might be slowly immersing ourselves in these electromagnetic fields without fully realizing the potential consequences.
Yeah, for our health
Yeah.
and the health of future generations.
It's a sobering thought. So where do we go from here? What can we do to protect ourselves and harness the potential of these forces for good?
Yeah, it seems like we're really at a crossroads with all this.
Yeah.
Embracing these technologies while also trying to understand their potential impact on us. Right.
I was reading in one of the sources about this phenomenon called electrical sensitivity,
Oh,
where
yeah.
some people actually experience like physical symptoms
Yeah,
when they're exposed to electromagnetic fields.
that's right. Things like headaches, fatigue, skin rashes, even heart palpitations.
Really?
And while the medical community is still kind of debating the exact cause,
Right.
some researchers believe that these symptoms could be the body's way of reacting to these fields.
So some people might just be more sensitive to these fields than others.
Right.
Like some people are allergic to pollen.
Exactly. It's like an electromagnetic allergy.
And one of our sources even mentions a historical example of this.
Yeah.
From like the early 20th century with the rise of neurasthenia
Oh, yeah.
among telegraph and telephone operators.
They called it telegraphists' cramp back then.
Uh-huh.
These operators were exposed to the electrical fields generated by the equipment they were using.
Right.
And they started experiencing a whole range of neurological and psychological symptoms.
Ah.
It's a reminder that our bodies have always been interacting with electromagnetic fields.
Yeah.
Even before, all the wireless technologies we have today.
That's fascinating. So what can we learn from these historical examples and apply to our modern world?
Well, it highlights the need for greater awareness
Roger.
and a research into the potential long-term effects of exposure.
Right.
Our sources suggest that we might be overlooking some very real risks,
Okay.
particularly when it comes to the developing brains of children.
Yeah, one of the sources delves into the work of Dr. Karl Hecht, who studied the effects of radio waves on children in Germany.
Right.
His research showed that even low levels of exposure could lead to behavioral problems, learning disabilities, and sleep disturbances.
Hecht's findings are definitely concerning.
Yeah, they are.
And they raise important questions about the safety of children in our increasingly wireless world.
It makes you wonder if we're doing enough to protect them.
Yeah, we need more research to really understand the long-term consequences of these exposures.
Our sources also touch on the potential impact of electromagnetic fields on heart health.
Right, the heart is an electrical organ,
Yeah.
and it's conceivable that external electromagnetic fields could interfere with its delicate electrical signaling, potentially leading to arrhythmias and other cardiac problems.
So again, more research is needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it's not just about protecting ourselves,
Right.
but also understanding the potential impact
Yeah.
of these fields on the environment
Yeah.
and other living organisms. Like, for example, one of the sources delves into the mysterious case of mass bird deaths.
Oh, right.
Suggesting a possible connection to electromagnetic fields.
Some researchers believe that birds might be using the Earth's magnetic field for navigation, and that interference from man-made electromagnetic fields could be disorienting them.
Oh, wow.
Causing them to fly into buildings or get lost during migration.
And we talked about the potential impact on bees earlier.
Yeah, it's a major concern.
Yeah, and our sources suggest that wireless technologies might be contributing to the decline of bee populations worldwide.
Which could have devastating consequences for our ecosystems.
And our sources even mention the potential impact of electromagnetic fields on trees.
It's true.
Suggesting that exposure to these fields could be contributing to forest decline.
There's evidence that these fields, especially from radar and cell phone towers, can actually damage the delicate cells within trees.
Wow.
Making them more susceptible to disease and pests.
So it seems like these fields don't discriminate. They can impact all living things.
They can.
So what can we do about it? Are we just destined to live in a world dominated by potentially harmful electromagnetic fields?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Our sources offer some hope.
Okay, good.
The first step is awareness.
Right.
The more we understand about these invisible forces, the better equipped we'll be to make informed choices.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
What else can we do?
Well, there are practical steps we can take to minimize our exposure.
Okay.
Like using wired connections instead of Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Keeping our distance from electronic devices when we're not using them.
Mm-hmm.
And even using special shielding materials to reduce our exposure.
So it's not about abandoning technology altogether.
Right.
But about using it more mindfully.
Exactly.
And taking steps to mitigate the potential risks.
That's the key.
What about on a larger scale? Is there anything being done to address this issue at a societal level?
Yes, there's a growing movement to promote responsible development and use of these technologies.
Okay.
This involves setting stricter safety standards, researching alternative technologies that are less harmful, and encouraging greater transparency from industry about the potential risks.
So there is hope for a future where we can coexist with these technologies in a more harmonious way.
I believe so.
It's about finding that balance between technological advancement and safeguarding our health and the health of the planet.
Absolutely, and it requires a shift in consciousness.
Okay.
A recognition that we're all interconnected and that our actions have consequences for ourselves and the world around us.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into this fascinating and complex world of electromagnetic fields. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
Filled with intriguing discoveries, unsettling revelations, and ultimately a call to action.
If this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to continue exploring this topic.
Yeah, there's definitely a wealth of information out there.
There is.
Waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely.
As you delve deeper, remember to approach this topic with a balanced perspective.
Yes.
Considering both the potential benefits and risks of these powerful forces.
And that's important.
And always remember, the choices we make today will shape the world of tomorrow.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.